The broadcast didn't come with a warning. No encryption. No clearance code. No ceremonial prelude. Just static. Then fire. Then the noose. Commander Aisha Verne stared at the flickering feed in silence, breath fogging her cracked visor. Her stasis pod had just enough power left to render the scene in jagged resolution, still sharp enough to show the trembling boots of General Maddox. 10 Terran generals, stripped of rank, bloodied and beaten, stood on rusted scaffolds in the center of Xerex Prime's tribunal hall. Hundreds of alien delegates watched from balconies above, their faces a mosaic of species, some emotionless, others smug with satisfaction. One delegate, a Yavarnan diplomat with tendrils curled in laughter, raised a glass. "To the end of human warlords!" he declared, and was met with thunderous applause. Then the platforms dropped. Rope tightened. Neck snapped. The feed ended. Aisha didn't move. She sat there, floating weightless in her failing pod, somewhere in the shadows of the dead sector. Her comms had been dark for 6 months. No reply. No trace. No orders. Until now. She blinked away the static, and the feed auto-rewound without prompting, back to the moment just before the drop. Zoom. Enhance. General Maddox turned his head slightly, toward the tribunal's hidden corner. Toward the camera. His lips moved. No sound. She leaned forward, voice dry from disuse. "Run lip parse." The pod's battered assistant AI tried. Failed. Tried again. Then the words lit up her cracked HUD. "Verne. Protocol 0. Her pulse spiked. That wasn't a plea. That was the final command. Aisha clawed free of the pod seat, nearly vomiting from the shift in blood flow. Bones creaked from months in stasis. She dragged herself to the rear of the capsule, tore off a wall panel, and found the emergency neural sync relay. Still intact. She jammed the needle into her wrist port. The response was instant. Her consciousness split for a moment, code rushing past her mind's eye in silent threads. Then a voice. Flat. Familiar. Cold. "Commander Verne. Janus AI, subnet Epsilon 7. Stand by." She coughed. "Status of Protocol 0? Dormant. Final activation requires verified authority." Her breath hitched. "Command link is terminated. High Command is dead. Confirm that I'm the last authenticated chain." A pause. "Confirmed. You are now Command 0. Aisha had known this might happen. They all had. That's why Maddox sent her off-world, weeks before the tribunal raids. She wasn't the most senior. She wasn't even the most decorated. But she had one advantage the rest didn't: she was invisible. Dead on paper. Lost during the final evacuation over Ganymede. And now, the only one left. She accessed the emergency channel buried in Janus' core. A dormant pulse reached out, bouncing between black site relays, beneath old Martian tunnels, into oceanic trenches off what used to be New Patagonia. All still dark. Except one. Node 04 alive. Location, Earth Core Vault Tier 0. Aisha steadied her voice. "Begin partial systems diagnostic. Do not awaken the array. Just ping their status." Acknowledged. 5 dormant rail platforms responding. 2 stealth fleets confirmed hidden. 1 Omega Core active. She swallowed. The Omega Core wasn't supposed to respond. Not unless Earth itself had already begun the fallback sequence. She checked the logs. 3 days ago, Earth's climate satellites went offline. Union reports blamed a solar flare. The truth blinked on her screen. Cloak strike confirmed. Neural spoof active. Warfog protocol underway. Warfog. Earth's final deception. She pulled open her relay terminal and initiated a low-frequency haptic burst, just enough to awaken the signal buried in her own bones. A legacy biosignature. Hard-coded into her DNA at age 26 when she first volunteered for the Protocol Project. A challenge response flickered across the screen. She answered. Janus processed. Then, Final lock removed. Protocol 0 now armed. Full activation awaits your order. The weight of it settled on her like gravity. If she said the word, the buried fangs of Earth would rise, not just against the Union fleets, but against every off-world colony, every satellite node corrupted with Union surveillance. It wasn't a precision strike. It was a clean slate. She closed her eyes. Then opened the General's final archive. The message had no video. Just his voice. Gruff. Calm. Aisha, if you're hearing this, we're gone. But that doesn't mean we lost. It means they forced our silence. They think silence is defeat. It's not. Protocol 0 was never a weapon. It was a promise that if Earth is ever truly broken, it won't die quietly. It'll remind the stars who we are. Do what needs doing. Don't look back. And if you can, make them afraid again. She listened twice. Then once more. Not for clarity. For courage. In orbit over Xerex Prime, Chancellor Vuratrix Krall sat in the High Council chamber, basking in celebration. A necessary end, he told the press. Now Earth may begin its enlightenment, without the chains of violence. Far beneath his feet, in databanks long forgotten, an unregistered pulse echoed once. A tiny flicker. Ignored. Unnoticed. Until it returned. And all across the galaxy, Earth's lost satellites began to blink back online, one by one. Aisha stared out the cracked viewport of her pod as distant stars realigned, each one a silent node of Earth's old empire. Not broken. Just sleeping. Janice, she said softly. Yes, Commander? Her lips tightened. Open the eyes of the old world. The stars replied. Xerex Prime gleamed like a gemstone, its orbital rings buzzing with trade ships, diplomats, and patrol craft. From a distance, the capital looked invincible, perfect in symmetry, polished in power. But inside its war rooms, the cracks had begun to spread. Chancellor Vuratrix Krall stood with his back to the council dome, watching a live feed of the outer systems. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the chirp of a panicked analyst. Chancellor, said the Andromathy attaché, scales shimmering. We've lost contact with 3 patrol units over Sector Varn 3. No distress signals. Just gone. Vuratrix barely glanced over. Anomaly? Too clean for pirates. Too sudden for system failure. A second feed flickered to life. A mining colony on Titan blackout. No signs of life. Cameras caught only a brief, flickering frame of motion, a massive shadow, angular, cold, gliding past the moon's rim. Then static. Vuratrix clicked his claws in irritation. Begin a sweep. Deploy a probe net across the dead sectors. But do it. He didn't raise his voice. He never had to. Aisha Verne crouched beneath the ice lattice of Europa, deep inside the command hull of the Wraith Ark, one of Earth's last autonomous dreadnoughts. Janice had rerouted her stasis pod here overnight, sealing her safely inside the warship's hibernating systems. The Ark was sleeping. Not dead. Just waiting for someone like her. Her fingers glided across the command console, slowly reawakening the beast from its icy tomb. Around her, reactor lights blinked in pale blue. The neural interface hummed as Janice came back online inside the ship's core. Welcome aboard, Commander. Wraith system stable. Armament at 87%. Cloak integrity at 94%. Aisha's voice was steady. Begin Phase 1. Engage memory beacons. Let them see what the Union erased. On dozens of colony worlds, most too far from the Union's inner ring to matter, people paused midday as their public screens glitched. Routine announcements were replaced with old Earth transmissions, children singing the Terran anthem, footage of the orbital bombardment over Sol, the last words of General Raz before the surrender pact. Some thought it was a mistake. Others watched in silence, eyes wide, as the truth resurfaced. And some remembered. Chancellor, a new voice crackled in Vuratrix's chamber. This one came from Admiral Shirken, orbiting close to the Sol system. We've got rogue signal bursts coming from old Terran satellites, ancient ones. Thought they were scrap. Vuratrix narrowed his eyes. What kind of signals? Structured. Coordinated. Looks like. A pause, then unease. Military wake signals. Another silence. Then Vuratrix turned, voice sharp now. Disable every relay near Earth. Shut down all Terran tech we absorbed. Now. Back aboard the Wraith, Aisha was already ahead. Janice was broadcasting ghost messages through the old commweb, carrier waves Earth had embedded into Union infrastructure decades ago. Signals that no one had noticed because they were designed never to appear threatening. Until now. Phase 1 complete, Janice reported. 17 colonies reactivated Terran knowledge banks. Civilian unrest detected on Zatraxis 4. Union garrisons pulling back. Aisha let out a slow breath. Then we push. Not with bombs. Not yet. Earth's true power had never been brute force. That was the Union's myth, humans as blunt instruments of chaos. But Earth's revenge was surgical. Wraith systems deployed nanite clouds over Union relay points, silent, invisible, programmed to dissolve only specific tech, the kind built with stolen Terran cores. Dozens of outer ring worlds went dark in seconds. No alarms. No flashes. Just systems, unplugged. Vuratrix stared at the new data. Explain this, he hissed. His science chief was pale. We've never seen tech behave this way. It's like something knows where our code is weakest. And it's not random, it's targeted. It's Earth. Impossible, Vuratrix growled. Earth has no command. No fleet. We executed their generals. He paused. Unless the fallback. He slammed a clawed fist against the control dais. Initiate total lockdown. Declare code black. No communication in or out of Sol system. But that would do it. Aisha smiled bitterly as she watched them scramble. The Union had protocols for everything, except humility. Janice, she said, show me Maddox's last data dump. A new file lit up. Video. Grainy. General Maddox's face appeared, unshaven, bruised, but defiant. If you're watching this, then the tribunal happened. They'll think it broke us. But it didn't. We didn't lose the war. We ended it on our terms. Earth isn't made of metal. It's made of memory. That's what they fear. So let them forget. And when they laugh, make them remember. Janice reported back. New unrest on 6 more colonies. Union patrols are pulling back to Xerex Prime. Internal channels show fear. Aisha tapped the screen. Send one final signal. Let them know the protocol hasn't even begun. What shall I transmit, Commander? She thought a moment. Then smiled. 3 words. Vuratrix stood frozen as a final hack transmission echoed across Union frequencies. It was plain, unadorned. No threats. No images. Just a static heavy voice, human, female. Protocol 0, waiting. He froze. Because he remembered those words. Buried in classified documents. The last line of a forgotten contingency. A myth, they said. A lie, he told himself. But the silence that followed didn't feel like a lie. It felt like breathing, just before a scream. The sky above Xerex Prime darkened, not with weather, but with motion. High above the capital, thousands of specks drifted out from the black, silent, coordinated, moving with impossible synchronization. Union defense platforms scrambled to track them, but they weren't ships. Not exactly. They were vectors, kinetic delivery pods Earth had hidden decades ago within the Oort loop, disguised as asteroid debris. Now they had come home. Chancellor Vuratrix Kral stood alone in the emergency operations tower. The walls around him buzzed with failing sensors. His advisors had gone silent. His fleet, scattered across the stars, refused to answer. He'd ruled the Galactic Union for over a century. Now he was being ignored. In the control chamber of the Wraith Ark, Aisha Verne stood wrapped in a flight jacket far too big for her frame. Janus' holographic interface hovered beside her, a rotating sphere of amber light. Status? She asked quietly. Full deployment underway. All orbital assets engaged. Union defensive AIs are now under Janus' command. No resistance. Casualties? 0. All current targets are unmanned infrastructure. Good. She leaned against the rail, staring at the system map. We make them watch. But we don't make them bleed. Not unless they force our hand. Across the galaxy, colony after colony fell into silence. Union outposts flickered dark as Terran nanotech choked their power cores. Black satellites aligned themselves into ancient constellations, Terran ones. Each image broadcast across the void, etched in light against the Union sky. A single message, planet to planet. You hanged our generals. We buried the witnesses. Now watch what we forgot to forget. Back on Xerex, Viewertrix finally received a ping, one live channel, open and unencrypted. Human frequency. He answered it with shaking hands. A woman's face appeared. Pale, sleepless, calm. Commander Verne, he said through clenched teeth. Chancellor. They studied each other. I presume you're behind this, he said. You presumed a lot of things, she replied. Why now? Why not 10 years ago? Aisha's gaze didn't waver. Because 10 years ago we still believed you might be better than us. He straightened. You're destabilizing everything we built. You built it on bones. We brought peace. You buried dissent. We played along. But you laughed while hanging our dead. Viewertrix's tone hardened. You're not strong enough to face the Union in open war. We're not at war, she said coldly. We're at memory. He blinked. What does that mean? Aisha stepped closer to the lens. We don't want to destroy you, Chancellor. We want you to remember us every time your lights flicker. Then she cut the feed. Janus spoke, soft as glass. Race systems report full lockdown of Union AI cores. Civilian unrest expanding. Several colonies raising old Terran banners. Aisha sat. She was tired. Not from fear. From knowing that she'd become what Maddox had warned her about, the edge of a knife designed never to be drawn, finally unsheathed. How long can we hold? Indefinitely. Union assets are paralyzed. Their central command infrastructure depends on codes seeded by Terran engineers before the treaty. They never purged us. They just painted over the top. She exhaled. They always thought mercy was surrender. Viewertrix stood before his private vault, entering a forgotten override code. Behind the heavy doors lay a relic, a sphere of hardened crystal, the last backup of pre-treaty Earth military doctrine, kept in secret. He had mocked the project once. Now he read. Lines of text scrolled up, each colder than the last. Protocol 0. A failsafe in the event of full command decapitation. Trigger condition. Verified absence of all Terran military leadership. Response. Initiate autonomous strategic warfare via dormant AIs embedded across the Galactic Union. Objective. Psychological disruption. Restitution through memory. Civilizational humiliation. And one final line, blinking red. Protocol can only be deactivated by command authority. Verne, A. He stared at that name for a long time. He'd seen her once before on trial day. The youngest officer missing from the high command, believed dead in orbit. Now she held every string. On the bridge of the Wraith Arc, Aisha gave one last command. Broadcast terms. Done, Janus replied. The message echoed across every Union-aligned world. No demand for surrender. No ultimatums. Just, Earth does not kneel. Earth does not forget. We will not conquer. We will not plead. We will watch. And we will wait. Leave us. Or lose more than memory. The galaxy didn't burn that day. But it remembered. Xerex withdrew its fleets within a week. Colonies once loyal to the Union declared neutrality. And Earth, silent for 50 years, became something far more dangerous than feared. It became respected. In the dark, Aisha stood alone. Janice flickered beside her. Protocol 0 is complete. She nodded. Lock it again. Permanently? Yes. If they force it open next time, let it be our extinction. There was a long pause. Then the AI responded. Confirmed. Goodbye, Commander. The lights dimmed. And Earth slept once more.